At first, it didn't land like a confirmation. It landed like a whisper, the kind of whisper that doesn't demand attention but quietly takes it anyway. A report suggesting that Keith Urban has already moved in with a new girlfriend just weeks after finalizing his high-profile divorce from Nicole Kidman. No official statement, no direct quote from Keith himself, just a source, a few carefully chosen words, and a narrative that instantly felt heavier than it looked. Because when a couple that lasted nearly 2 decades suddenly unravels, people don't just want to know what happened, they want to know what happened next. And this report didn't just hint at a new chapter, it suggested that chapter may have already begun. According to a source speaking to the Daily Mail, Keith Urban has someone, and that detail alone shifted the entire frame of the story. The source tied this claim directly to the behavior of the former couple's daughters, Sunday and Faith, saying their public support for Nicole Kidman may be a reaction to what's happening behind the scenes. That framing matters, because it doesn't accuse anyone outright, it simply invites interpretation. And interpretation is where engagement lives. The source went further, claiming that people think they are even living together. Notice the phrasing, not they are, but people think. That distance creates plausible deniability while still planting the image firmly in the viewer's mind. Living together, shared space, commitment. It's a powerful escalation without hard proof. Then comes one of the most emotionally charged lines in the entire report. Teen girls love their dads, so there's a reason they're making it 3 against 1. That sentence does a lot of work. It introduces conflict, loyalty, and family dynamics without ever explicitly blaming anyone. Suddenly, the story isn't just about Keith and Nicole, it's about sides. And once a story has sides, people stay watching. What followed was a shift in focus to Nicole Kidman's public behavior, and this is where the narrative becomes visual. The source pointed out that since the split, Nicole and her daughters have appeared together far more frequently on social media. Trips to Paris, time in Sydney, group photos, linked arms, holding hands. The report emphasizes how unusual this is for Nicole, who has historically been far more private with her children. That contrast is intentional. Privacy before, visibility now. The implication doesn't need to be spoken. Viewers connect the dots themselves, which makes the story feel more personal and more believable. The imagery continues, a Thanksgiving turkey trot race, photos that feel symbolic rather than casual, repeated moments of physical closeness. The source describes it as looking like us against the world, and once that phrase enters the story, the emotional temperature rises. Now it's no longer just a divorce, it's a realignment. At the same time, the report subtly pulls Keith Urban in the opposite direction. Nashville, Music Row, a studio renovation, a breakup album in progress. The story suggests that the music itself may become a retelling of the unraveling of their love story. That detail does something very specific. It reframes the narrative away from scandal and toward art. Pain turned into creativity, distance turned into productivity. And for many viewers, that creates empathy. But then the story pivots again. According to the Daily Mail, everyone is adamant that Keith Urban is involved with someone new and that it's serious. That word matters. Serious implies intention. It implies future. And suddenly the timeline feels fast. Too fast for some, logical for others. Either way, it creates debate. Speculation has now centered on country singer Carly Scott Collins, who is significantly younger than Urban. But again, the report is careful. It explicitly states there is no suggestion of an affair, no overlap, no wrongdoing. That disclaimer protects the story while still allowing curiosity to flourish. Because once a name is introduced, people start searching. Reps for Urban and Collins declined to comment, and silence in stories like this is never neutral. Silence becomes space, and space gets filled with speculation. By this point, most viewers aren't asking whether the report is true, they're asking how it fits. How it fits with the custody arrangement, where Keith reportedly has the girls every other weekend while Nicole has them for the majority of the year. How it fits with the fact that both parties waived spousal and child support. how it fits with earlier reports that Nicole didn't want the separation and was trying to save the marriage. Those details don't confirm anything, but they deepen the emotional context. And then there's history. Nicole Kidman's previous marriage to Tom Cruise, a long public life, decades under scrutiny. The implication that she has been here before, that she knows how these stories go. That framing subtly positions her as resilient, while Keith's current chapter remains uncertain. The report reminds readers that the couple had reportedly been living apart since the beginning of summer 2025. That detail reframes the entire timeline. Suddenly, the quick transition doesn't seem as quick, and once again, the story destabilizes certainty. Even past rumors are addressed, claims involving other musicians that were shut down, friends calling them absolutely not true. This isn't random information, it's narrative cleanup. It reinforces the idea that rumors have surrounded this split for a while, but not all of them stick. And that raises a bigger question. Are we watching a genuine personal transition unfold, or are we watching how narratives get constructed around silence, distance, and timing? Think about it for a second. Do stories like this tell us more about celebrity relationships, or more about how quickly we interpret behavior once a split becomes public? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more breakdowns like this, where we don't just repeat headlines but unpack how these stories actually work, make sure you subscribe. All right, let's get back to it. Because here's the part that keeps this story alive. Nothing in this report is definitive, and that's exactly why it spreads. It's built on suggestion, contrast, and emotional alignment. Every detail feels intentional, but none of it forces a conclusion. That keeps the loop open. Whether Keith Urban has moved in with someone new or not, the narrative has already done its job. It's shifted public perception, it's created sides, and it's turned private behavior into public symbolism. And until someone directly confirms or denies it, the story remains suspended, right where attention lasts the longest.